We say a very good evening to Chief Political Writer of Spiked, the legend that is Brendan O'Neill. How are you?
Hi, Jeremy. How you doing?
Well, you see, every week I find myself, when it gets to Wednesday, with my favourite guest, thinking, can it possibly have got any worse? And this week, I literally, yesterday, I've never seen a response like it. I've never seen the phones light up. I've never seen people so angry. You heard the last caller say it's easy for the Labour Party and those sorts of people just saying, you know, you should be cancelled, you're outrageous. I thought yesterday was one of the biggest political mistakes. I thought it was novice-y. I thought it was just ridiculous. You played entirely, Keir Starmer, into Nigel Farage's hands, didn't he, Brendan?
Absolutely. You know, the way Starmer and David Lammy and Shabama Mahmood are talking about Farage, it's absolutely ridiculous. That, you know, this far-right slur just doesn't work anymore.
No, it doesn't.
It just doesn't wash. You know, people can see through this. It's so transparent. And I think it really speaks to the desperation of this government. They are flailing like crazy in response to the threat posed by reform. The threat posed by reform, not only to this government, but to the very foundations of modern British politics. They know that Nigel Farage is leading an insurgent party that millions of working class people want to vote for. And they know this party will shake up the two-party system in a way that we have never seen before. And the only way they can deal with that, because they have no vision, no beliefs, and they are moral cowards, is by wheeling out the Hitler slur, the fascist slur, the far-right slur. That's all they've got left in their armoury. It is absolutely pathetic.
I mean, I watched it yesterday. Today, of course, Starmer is rowing back. He directly asked again today, is Nigel Farage a racist? No, he's not. He's a formidable opponent. All right, that's a bit of a change. What about you saying that everybody who's purports to be interested in what Reform are saying, they're racist? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the policies are racist, some of them. So if you're saying to people who support those policies indirectly, you're calling them racist. And Lammy, what a great example that is. What a horrendous human being. This is a man who yesterday thought it was appropriate, our Deputy Prime Minister, for Christ's sake, to say that Nigel Farage, a fellow politician, had flirted with the Hitler Youth, the movement that was banned and expelled and ended 25 years before Nigel Farage was born. So extraordinary. But for me as well, I cannot get clear in my head more than those two things. And I really wanted, I'm watching the Labour Party conference and seeing the shadow cabinet, you know, like there are metronomes, waving their flags whilst Labour councils are taking them down. When he said that Reform voters could be labelled as unpatriotic and you know, you don't care about the United Kingdom. I would have thought that all those people who try to fly flags, all those people who want to be proud of what this nation is, who want to stand up and say, look, if you weren't born here and you weren't paying in, you need to prove your worth. We're a proud nation. I would have thought these people were for the United Kingdom. I've obviously got that completely wrong.
Of course they are. Far more than Starmer's government, which can't even control the borders, looks down its nose at Britain and its history. We know that when you saw all those Labour suits waving the St. George's flag at the conference, we know they don't believe it. That was such a pathetic spectacle.
Do you know where they got all the flags from, by the way?
No, where?
They got them from Yvette Fielding's... No, Yvette Fielding, she was the ghost of them. Yvette Cooper's garage. Because did you remember that terrible video a few weeks ago when she went, I've got them all over my house? No, you haven't, you lying woman. Of course you haven't. You think... See, I think, because you do this for a job, but I think that the Labour Party is stuck. And I think the Tories are stuck. Because in the past, under the uni-party sort of monopoly, you could say a line produced by a SPAD or a focus group. You could say, this person's wrong, and that was enough. I think the great British public have gone, nah. That's rubbish, man. We'll make our own minds up. I hate to make the analogy, but I can see a massive similarity between here and America. I really, really can.
You know, Jeremy, we're living through a very historic moment.
Yeah,
we are living through the death rattle of the uniparty, the death throes of the old party system, the old political system. And who knows what will come with reform? Who knows if they'll win the next election or maybe get enough seats to have a coalition government? No one knows. But we do know that we are in the end days of the old ways of doing things.
And isn't that interesting for people who perhaps are listening and saying, what do you mean? What that means is for years and years under the two-party system, you know, I remember I'm going to say the SDP would get 10,000 votes in each constituency and 1 or 2 seats, but they'd have like 4 million votes, which is what happened to Reform last time. for a party, any party, it could be the Greens, well, it's not going to be the Liberal Democrats, let's be honest, it could be any of these parties that are insurgent, as you say, suddenly it's saying to the Tory party, to the Labour Party, the world has changed, people have changed. I mean, the other thing that I wanted your opinion on was, I mean, Her Majesty's opposition wasn't even mentioned by the Prime Minister, so irrelevant have the Tories become.
They are so irrelevant. And, you know, it gives me no pleasure to say that, actually, because I quite like Kemi Badenoch. I think she's got a lot going for her. I think she's a smart politician, but she's out of her depth and she's out of her time. And if it was a different era where politics wasn't collapsing in the way that it is, she might have made a bit of a move. She might have been more impressive. But she's come at the wrong time because British people want change. They are sick and tired of Tories. They are sick and tired of Labour. They want something different. This is our Trump moment, if we're being honest about it, or maybe we could call it the sequel to Brexit, where the people are crying out for a radical change in politics in this country. And you know, the thing that really gets on my wig, and you mentioned it just there, is this idea that Labour is not attacking reform voters, it's only attacking reform politicians. That is such codswallop. If you call this party racist, if you call its policies racist, if you call its leader racist, then you are calling its supporters racist. And in fact, I'd go further. This Farage phobia that has taken over the Labour Party, what really drives it is a hatred of the ordinary working class people who have dared to turn their back on Labour and go. But
that's my point. I was really interested yesterday. Sorry, at my age, I can't remember, but I think I'm going to say it was, who was on from Reform? Oh, it was David Bull. That was right, David Bull, the chairman. And he was saying that what's really interesting, if you look at constituents across the United Kingdom, is that a large percentage of the people coming over are not just Tories, they are Labour voters as well, in those red wall seats, who feel let down. I've heard from all sorts of people who say, you wouldn't think this of me. I'm an immigrant. I hate what's going on. I think that all politicians, I mean, I'm talking Labour here, and I'm talking Tories, are so used to it just happening. You go from one to t'other. You say a bit, if they're messing up, Ming Vars say nothing, get elected. Suddenly you've got this bloke on the front foot leading the discussion. I mean, the Tory party conference this week is in Manchester, I believe, and everybody has told us that without any shadow of a doubt, she's going to come out the blocks and announce that the Tories, if elected, will leave the ECHR. And I've said it 5 times already today, and all the main newspapers and journalists are going to go, I think you'll find Farage said that 6 months ago, love. And I'm not being disrespectful to Kemi Badenoch. You're perhaps right. Maybe wrong place, wrong time. Following, I don't know if you're a football fan, following Alex Ferguson at Manchester United was nigh on bloody impossible. You might as well just forget it for 3 years. Maybe the Tories are just going to be dormant for 5 years, and maybe it won't be Farage, but you get the feeling out there that something's happening. That's what I get the feeling.
You know, do you remember they used to say that if you put a red rosette on a donkey, it would win in these old Labour seats? That's not true anymore. No. You can't take the mick out of working class voters anymore. And the reason that working class voters are abandoning in Labour makes perfect sense to me. Labour betrayed them. It stabbed them in the back. It looked down its nose at them. It called them xenophobic for opposing the European Union. It called them Islamophobic for being worried about radical Islam or grooming gangs. It called them transphobic for thinking that you shouldn't let men wander into women's bathrooms. It constantly demeaned them as phobic, racist, stupid lowlifes. And if you say that to people all the time, guess what? They're going to turn their backs on you. They're going to look for someone else. They're going to look for other answers. And that's what people are now doing with reform.
I couldn't agree more. Sorry, we've got some breaking news. Oh, God. Is this Greta Thunberg's boat? Like, I really want to be talking about that child that should be in school. The Gaza aid flotilla is expected to be intercepted by the Israeli Navy within the hour, Reuters is reporting, Brendan. It adds they've declared a state of emergency on board. The development comes as the nearly 50 vessels even continue their approach towards the coast of Gaza, where they're going to bring international peace. We've got live pictures on this. I've got no idea what they're of. Sorry. They've declared a state of emergency. All the boats have got together and went, it's a state of emergency. The Israeli Navy are coming for us. We were going to sort the war in Gaza. Oh, God alive! Honestly, give me 2 minutes. What are you supposed to say about that? Do you feel that with Greta Thunberg heading towards Gaza on a yacht, the world's going to be a better place, or am I missing?
I just cannot believe the arrogance of these people who think they can sail into a country's waters, into its sovereign territory, while it's at war, I might add.
Yes.
And there will be no consequences for them whatsoever, that they won't be arrested, they won't be intercepted. What a colossal amount of privilege you have to think that you can behave that
Great.
way.
Honestly, I bow down to you. I completely agree. So good luck to the Gaza flotilla. It's an aid for... I mean, the amount of aid they must have been able to get on those 27 boats, that'll sort everything out. Oh, it's 50 boats. And all the boats have got together and gone, Smokey Bear, this is Rubber Duck, we're having a state of... I mean, I've never heard anything so ludicrous in my life. Let's get back to this country. Today there was also news, Brendan, that the government, the Home Office, won't respond to us. They won't talk about individual cases. The Home Office, and I knew this from the conference 3 weeks ago, have cut Nigel Farage's personal security by 75%. He's now having to pay for it through donations and party whatever, finances, I'm guessing, privately, because, of course, he's in a very, very focal position. Not made any better, by the way, by what was said yesterday. Somebody brought up a cenotaph, like last year he was left on a balcony. Surely if you're the leader of a party nigh on leading everybody else by a mile, should he be treated with more respect by the establishment, or is this just another dig in his direction, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. If there is any politician that needs protection right now, it's Nigel Farage, because he is, for some reason, I think he's quite a moderate, good, decent politician, but to some idiots out there, they see him as this mad lunatic who probably deserves some kind of punishment or protest or reprimand. He needs to be protected. He needs to be kept safe. You know, I'm all in favor of colorful, provocative, free, open political discussion.
Yep.
And this country actually has a great tradition of political insult and political jibes and parliamentary to and fro. I don't want to clamp down on any of that. But when Starmer and the rest of his stupid party are comparing people to Hitler, or saying they're far right, or saying they're a fascistic threat to this country, or as Starmer said, Farage is the enemy and we will fight you. That is dangerous talk in this climate. And imagine if Farage had said that about Keir Starmer, or if Farage said that about Kemi Badenoch. It would be all over The Guardian. They'd be going nuts. But apparently Starmer can say it. So these are worrying times for that kind of rhetoric, I think.
I just want to finish with... actually, I'm going to finish with both. Ed Miliband, can we get this clip ready again for Brendan and Neil? Because this is, if you're just tuning in to Talk Drive, Ed Miliband is the Labour leader who put up his aims on a tombstone, which basically meant that was it. He got caught trying to eat a bacon sandwich. Today, Mad Ed, the man who wants to spend 800 billion turning us green, and we must never forget Mike Graham's approach. When we do hit net zero, what happens? Do you get a medal? What happens? Pointless. Ed Miliband's taken aim at Elon Musk. Have a watch, have a listen.
Elon Musk. Elon Musk. He incites violence on our streets. He calls for the overthrow of our elected government. He's an enabler of disinformation through X. He thinks he can tell us how to run Britain. Conference. We have a message for Elon Musk. Get the hell out of our politics and our country.
Brendan, two things you should know before you respond to this. One, because we checked this out, Ed Miliband has an account on X. Secondly, this is obviously, you know, I mean, it could be an unfair thing, but I think it's only fair to say that the Labour Party sent 24 volunteers out to America to help Kamala Harris fight Donald Trump in the last election. Is that not the same? Is that not hypocrisy at its worst level, my friend?
Disgusting hypocrisy. You know, when X and Twitter and all that lot was run by billionaires who they liked, who were on their side, who are pro-Democratic Party, pro-Labour Party. They had no problem with political meddling at all. In fact, they encouraged it. Now that X is run by a billionaire they don't like, they're all up in arms. But, you know, that was such a cringe-worthy clip. It just makes me think, why are our politicians so nasal, so robotic, so wooden?
And this, by the way, this man, this human being, Ed Miliband, right? In a recent poll of Labour members, Wes Streeting's at the bottom, so he should be calling for Ange to come back. Ed Miliband had a 73% approval rating, and if it was down to the members, would be the next Prime Minister of this country.
It's horrifying. What happened to the great orators in British politics? You know,
his brother was excellent, by the way. David Miliband was much better.
David Miliband even, or, you know, Tony Benn, Margaret Thatcher, even Tony Blair, Peter Shaw, Barbara Castle, these great figures from British history, which you might agree with or disagree with, but they could speak. They could hold an audience enraptured. They were able to convince people to think a certain way, to get better, to vote for them. These politicians are so wooden and so boring.
But you know, actually, because I could be a political nerd if I spent much more time with you. I'll tell you one of the things that I really feel strongly about, and you've just said it, is they're all the same. They're so bland. They pretend to be perfect. They pretend to be oven ready. The truth is, and I always quote this defamation case. He helped me with the case, and then some weeks later I was ringing him, and he said, "Oh, I've just come back from the Labour Party conference. I know people don't like what I'm going to say, but it's tough." And he said to me, "I went, Labour?" He went, "Jez, they're all the same." He said, "The only difference between the Labour Party and the Tory Party is the Tory Party like rent boys and cocaine, and the Labour Party like money. And the truth of the matter is, I crave for a politician, whether it's Nigel Farage or Angela Rayner Reborn, to stand up and go, do you know what? I'm not perfect. I've been divorced twice. I've got 4 kids. I once got arrested, or I once got cautioned, or I've, you know, done." Just don't pretend to be something you're not. The British people are past caring whether you're whiter than white. They want people who effectively will stand up and say, "This is what I believe in. Let's try and make this work. If we don't, I'll put my hands in the air and be honest with you." That's it, isn't it?
We want them to level with us, speak to us like normal human beings, and make our lives a bit better. That's not asking for much. It's the pint test, isn't it? Which politician would you like to have a pint with? Ed Miliband? I don't think so. Nigel Farage? Yes, please. That's what people are thinking. They want a politician who can speak to them as if they're a normal person.
You wouldn't have a drink with Ed Miliband. He can't even eat a bacon sandwich, for Christ's sake. Do you remember that? That was awful enough. Listen, I'm really grateful as ever, mate. We love having you on. Brendan O'Neill, Chief Political Writer for Spike.